Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. We've got an absolutely jam-packed show for you guys tonight. All kinds of stuff to talk about. We got some breaking news that came in just about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago in the NBA. Huge news. Star player going to a team that feels like they're kind of a star away from really being in playoff contention. I'll talk about that. Russell Wilson got the bag in Denver, got a big extension. I'll talk about that, as well as what it means for Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Continued disrespect for my Golden State Warriors by not just the NBA media, but by NBA GMs. I'll talk about that, as well as Jeanie Buss with some questionable, and that is being as kind as I can possibly be, comments about Russell Westbrook. That is all on the show today. Donovan Mitchell is a Cav. Yes, that came in 2.5 hours ago from Adrian Wojnarowski. He says that Utah is trading for Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland for Larry Markkinen, Ochai Agbaji, and Colin Sexton, as well as 3 unprotected first-round picks from 2025, 2027, and 2029, as well as pick swaps in 2026 and 2028. So, in other words, both teams won the trade. The Cavs get a star right now who is still young. Donovan Mitchell's, 24, 25 years old. He could score about that much on a minimum per night. He is an excellent three-point shooter, great, driver to the basket, good ball handler, and is an excellent pairing in the backcourt that already has Darius Garland. Okay, so in Cleveland, if you're telling me right now about the Cleveland Cavaliers, even in a loaded Eastern Conference, where I have always said all offseason, Milwaukee and Boston are the class of the East. They're followed by Miami and Philadelphia, and then you're sort of in that in-between range, your Brooklyns and your Chicagos. I think Cleveland just elevated into that level with Miami and Philadelphia, because you're talking about a starting lineup of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. Shooting, especially now that you got Donovan Mitchell. Rim protection with Jared Allen, who might be the best of the game at that. Length. Evan Mobley just, finished second for Rookie of the Year, had a tremendous rookie season, has all kinds of promise. Oh, and by the way, you have Kevin Love coming off the bench, followed by Karis LeVert. 2 scores. Kevin Love's an excellent, stretch 4. That sounds like a lock to make the playoffs to me. If this team stays healthy, never forget this. The Cavaliers at one point were in the playoffs without even having to play in the play-in tournament until Jared Allen went down. And so once they lost their rim protection, they declined significantly on the defensive side of the floor. And so they had to play in the play-in tournament, and we know that they ended up losing to Brooklyn, and they ended up losing to Atlanta to miss the playoffs. But what this means for the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise is that for the first time in 2.5 decades, they are going to be relevant. They are going to be a problem without having to have LeBron James on their team. And that is a big, big step for this franchise. To add a player like Donovan Mitchell, who's a multi-time All-Star, who's one of the better scorers in today's game, who still isn't even in his prime yet. You add him to a backcourt that was already set. They've already got a great bench, right? JB Bickerstaff did a fantastic job. He was in the Coach of the Year running last year up until the Cavs suffered all the injuries they did. This is an absolute lock to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. So good for the Cavs, even though I hate Cleveland. On the other hand, Utah also won the trade. This is one of the rare trades where both sides kind of come out, on the other side looking pretty good. We understand Danny Ainge is running the Utah Jazz, okay? He traded Rudy Gobert. The Rudy Gobert trade, really, you can point to that as the biggest reason, maybe even sort of the one move that put all of the things into motion that ended up keeping Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, because the general managers around the league were like, timeout, wait. If the Jazz can get all that for Rudy Gobert, we're going to need that and then some for a player of Kevin Durant's caliber, right? So Danny Ainge kind of messed up the whole process. But he gets all of those picks for Rudy Gobert on top of the ones they already had in Utah, and he gets even more first-round picks from the Utah Jazz. The Jazz have 15 first-round picks in the next 7 NBA drafts. They're pulling in Oklahoma City right now. They are just stockpiling picks. And what do we know about the Jazz? They draft as well as anybody in basketball. In the last 25 years, the Jazz are, if they're not in the top 5, they're just outside of it in winning percentage in the whole NBA. Now, they don't have any championships to show for it. We all know. Michael Jordan and the Bulls denied them twice in 97 and 98. I felt like they had the better team in 98, right? And they've had plenty of very good players. They've had their Gordon Haywards, okay? They just had Donovan Mitchell. But this gives them the opportunity to truly go into a full smack dab rebuild. And for the Jazz, they still have multiple veterans that they can get even more picks for. They still have Jordan Clarkson, who's a former 6th man of the year. They still have Bogdanovich. They still have Mike Conley. They still have all of these veteran guys that they can still move before the trading deadline to teams that maybe they need another scorer off the bench, or maybe they need a shooter, okay? Or maybe they just need a point guard to control the pace. Utah is all 3. So they could be able to move those guys and just flat out over the next 5, 6, 7 years, commit fully to this rebuild. This isn't a New York Knicks situation. I know Knicks fans, this is a bad day for them because Knicks fans, like they think they're going to get everybody, thought they were going to get Donovan Mitchell. And certainly there were the signs that there was a possibility that could happen. It didn't. But this isn't a New York Knicks situation where they butcher just about every draft pick that they possess. Utah drafts extremely well. They get picks. So the Jazz win and the Cavs win. Cavs get to win now. Cavs are a lock to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Jazz now have the opportunity to build a contender over the next decade now that they have all these draft picks. So good job by Danny Ainge. Good job by Kobe Altman of the Cavaliers. Both teams won this trade. John Rivera, Fan Perspective Podcast, is in the comments. He says, Cleveland turned it around fast. It's still Cleveland, though. That's the thing. You still have to leave that shadow of doubt in there because, listen, this is Cleveland sports we're talking about now, okay? The Cleveland, now the Cleveland Guardians, they haven't won a World Series since the 40s, I think it was. I think it was the 1940s. The Browns, we know they ain't won nothing, okay? The Cavs, their only championship came because they had, arguably the greatest player of all time. And they only got one, and he was there over a decade. Grady Edwards in the comments, he says, I'm so glad the Knicks did not get Donovan Mitchell. Give me a funny Stephen A. Smith segment anytime. And then he says, the Knicks be like, Cleveland, this is for you. Yep. Yeah, man, Stephen A. Smith tomorrow on First Take, man, that is going to be some must-see TV. I've seen the First Take ratings have just skyrocketed since Stephen A. came back from vacation. So shout out Stephen A. Smith, the best in the business. But yeah, I agree with you, Grady. I'm looking forward to seeing some great Stephen A. Smith content, without a question. But this again, I feel like both teams come out of this trade looking good. I mean, the fact that the Knicks were actually. I think the reports came out of New York saying the Knicks were offering more to the Utah Jazz for Donovan Mitchell than the Cavs were. But the Jazz liked the Cavs deal better, and so they made it happen. But that one kind of hit me out of the blue. I know there was some, again, there's two fan bases in the NBA. It drives me crazy. It's almost like Major League Baseball with the Yankees. There's two franchises in the NBA. They think that every single time that a star player asks for a trade or is a free agent, they automatically assume they're going to get him. The Knicks and the Lakers. Every single time that a star or superstar player asks for a trade or is available as a free agent, they automatically assume they're going to get him. And the Knicks, how long is it? I mean, Carmelo Anthony, well, of course, Melo was a trade, but Melo's the last superstar player the Knicks have gotten, right? The Lakers, they got LeBron, but that was due to business reasons. They got Anthony Davis because they were able to finesse their way into the New Orleans trade. So, I mean, come on now. What are we doing? What are we doing? This is every offseason. Every offseason. It's Laker fans, Knicks fans. I'll throw in Cowboys fans, Yankee fans, every offseason. We're going to get this guy. No, bro. No, you're not. No, you're not. Keep your expectations in a good spot. But again, it's a win for the Jazz. It's a win for the Cavs. Obviously, I will continue to root strongly against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We know the Jazz are going to be very, very bad for the next few years. But again, they draft very well. And hey, look what Danny Ainge did, getting all those draft picks from the Brooklyn Nets with the Boston Celtics, right? He traded Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, got all those picks. He got Jaylen Brown and he got Jason Tatum. And look what the Celtics are now, right? They're due to those two pieces leading them, those two guys leading them. They have a chance to get back to the finals for the second year in a row. Danny Ainge helped build that. All right, now moving to the NFL. I'm telling you, I don't think that I've seen a big extension that has gotten more pushback over the past however long it's been, 8-9 hours since it's happened. So, according to Adam Schefter, Russell Wilson and the Broncos have reached an agreement on a 5-year, $245 million extension that includes a $165 million guaranteed. $165 million guaranteed. Deal now ties Wilson to Denver for 7 total years and $296 million. And Schefter adds another massive QB deal in the books. So first of all, this will keep Russell Wilson in Denver till he's 40. So that'll be, till 2029, I believe, is when that contract will expire. So he'll play to Denver till he's 40. We know Russell Wilson's been very vocal about wanting to play till he's 45, a la Tom Brady. But it's like, I was driving this morning to school, and I'm listening to the radio. I'm listening to sort of reaction behind it. And this is from, like, former NFL players, journalists, bad-mouthing the Broncos for doing this deal. And I'm sitting here saying, have y'all lost your minds? The quarterback position has always been the most important position in football. But now more than ever, that is the case. Okay, we've seen the last 2 Super Bowl champions literally added a superstar quarterback, and they immediately won the Super Bowl. Bucs did it with Tom Brady. Rams did it with Matt Stafford. Okay, so when we talk about, and I really get a kick out of this. Every single time a superstar quarterback signs a big deal to either stay with his franchise or to, go to a new one, right? There's all kinds of pushback. But ask yourself this question. If you're a fan of any of these teams I'm about to mention who has signed their superstar quarterback to an extension or to a new contract, would you rather that be the case or another option? I'll give you an example. The top of the list, the highest paid quarterback this year is going to be Aaron Rodgers at $50.3 million with the Green Bay Packers. Now, listen, you guys know Aaron drives me nuts off the field. But what are you going to do, Green Bay? Yeah, you're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers and go with what? Jordan Love? Yeah, that's not going to work. We've seen him last year in that game against Kansas City. He was a disaster. We've seen him in the preseason. He was even worse against backups. Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Go with Jordan Love rather than paying one of the best quarterbacks of all time $50 million a year. Okay. Russell Wilson now going to make $49 million a year. Right. Denver. Yeah. Who's been in quarterback purgatory since the retirement of Peyton Manning. Yeah. You would rather, have your quarterback on the cheap. Yeah. Like Paxton Lynch and Brock Osweiler and Trevor Siemian and Case Keenum. Yeah, and Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. I'll tell you what, Bridgewater, man, he tore it up. Really? Really? So you're not going to pay Russell Wilson $49 million a year in favor of those guys? Yeah. Yeah. Arizona, Kyler Murray, like Aaron Rodgers, drives me crazy off the field. Heck, even on the field sometimes with his leadership intangibles or lack thereof. But yeah, Arizona, you go ahead and let Kyler Murray walk. Yeah. Did you see Josh Rosen the year before you drafted Kyler Murray? Was he very good? The numerous quarterbacks that the Cardinals have had, if you take out Kurt Warner and the pretty good years with Carson Palmer, yeah, you were flying high at quarterback. Come on. You give Kyler Murray his $46 million. Okay. Deshaun Watson, that's a whole different story. Let's move on from that. Patrick Mahomes at $45 million. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of pushback because the Chiefs had just signed Mahomes after they won the Super Bowl. So it's recency bias, right? You pay Mahomes $45 million, okay? He's going to have you in championship contention for the next decade plus. You pay him, okay? Josh Allen, $43 million a year. I remember when Josh Allen signed his extension last year in the offseason. People are like, whoa, you can't pay. Really? Really? Because up until Josh Allen got there, up until Josh Allen's second year, between 1999 and 2020, yeah, the Bills had not won a single playoff game. So you're going to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tyrod Taylor and Nathan Peterman and the other numerous quarterbacks they've had in Buffalo pre-Josh Allen rather than giving a superstar quarterback $43 million? Derek Carr, $40.5 million. I have heard nothing but crap about Derek Carr, particularly from Raiders fans, since he's been in Oakland/Vegas. Yeah, a guy who deals with the crap that he dealt with last year, stemming from John Gruden, Henry Ruggs, Damon Arnett, and even Josh Jacobs. An interim coach who is a special teams coach, a terrible defense in a brutal division, and he gets you to the playoffs. Yeah, let him walk and don't pay him. Dak Prescott, $40 million a year. Yeah, right, because you're going to go with Cooper Rush or Ben DiNucci. Yeah, flying high with DiNucci, man. I'm telling you. You pay Dak $40 million a year. You saw what you were without him. All of these franchises that I just listed, maybe take out the Chiefs because they were fine with Alex Smith, but obviously we know Mahomes is on a whole different level than Alex Smith, as good as Alex Smith was. So you would rather them move on from these franchise quarterbacks, these superstar quarterbacks, to go with the cheaper option, and you go absolutely nowhere. Denver knows as well as anybody what great quarterback play looks like. They had it for nearly 2 decades with John Elway, and they had it for a few years with Peyton Manning. They know what that looks like, and they also know the other side of the coin with the other quarterbacks I just mentioned in between Peyton Manning and now Russell Wilson. You pay him. Do you think Green Bay really regrets paying Aaron Rodgers as much as they're paying him? You actually think the Raiders regret paying Derek Carr and the Chiefs paying Patrick Mahomes, the Bills paying Josh Allen, the Cowboys paying Dak Prescott, the Raiders paying Derek Carr? Yeah, I'll tell you that trust me. When you have that franchise quarterback, ask any general manager around the NFL. You could have all kinds of crap going on in your franchise. You're not sure if you got the coach right. You're not sure if your roster is quite as good as it needs to be at this point in time, depending on where you're at as a franchise. But if you know you've got that guy at that position, you can sleep real good at night. Because as long as you got him, you always have a chance. If you have a true franchise quarterback, you have a chance to win every single game you play. Obviously, that doesn't mean you will. Not everybody can be the 72 Dolphins. But you have a chance to win every single football game that you play any given Sunday. So yes, the Broncos absolutely, positively, without a shadow of a doubt, made the right decision in making Russell Wilson the second highest paid quarterback in football in terms of average annual salary. It's not even a discussion. It's not even a debate. It's not even close. Got quite a few comments. Hold on. Let's see. John says, hold on. Yeah. John says, I haven't heard anything bad about this deal. Yeah, I mean, listen, from people that know what they're talking about, John, yeah, nobody's bad-mouthing this deal. But when it first came down, I'm listening to ESPN radio, just sports talk radio as a whole, on my way to school, and I'm thinking, they understand who they're talking about, right? Like, so you're going to go with these mediocre quarterbacks that you've had the past half decade, as opposed to a guy who has the highest winning percentage of any quarterback in NFL history through his first 10 years. And in his first 10 years, he's made 9 Pro Bowls. Yeah. Say Paxton Lynch is tearing it up in what, Arena League? Come on now. Barry Grant Jr. says there should be pushback for quarterbacks who haven't done anything, not accomplished quarterbacks. And that's the thing. That's what bothers me, is that all of these quarterbacks at least most of these quarterbacks have accomplished something. Okay, Aaron Rodgers has won a Super Bowl. So has Russell Wilson. Okay, Derek Carr is not going to win a Super Bowl in Las Vegas. But man, we know about the instability in that franchise. You don't have Derek Carr, you're a 4-win team. You are a 4-win football team if you don't have that guy. In Dallas, you are probably a 5 or 6-win football team if you don't have Dak Prescott. In Arizona, about that much if you don't have Kyler Murray. Okay, Josh Allen. Okay, I think he's got the highest passer rating in a single postseason of all time that he had last year with the Bills. Right, you're just going to move on from him. So that's the pushback from people, it makes no sense. And Grady says, like Kyler Murray, agree there, Barry. Push comes to shove, you do have to pay him though. Yep. 100%. Again, what's your option? And that sort of leads me into what my next segment is going to be as soon as I get through y'all's comments. John just says, LOL, I wish you had the same energy when y'all paid Dak. Y'all was talking crap, LOL. Hey, I was not talking any crap, okay? I said at the time when Dak got paid, I said, everybody's freaking out about this. A year from now, he won't even be in the top 5 highest paid players. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's the 8th highest paid quarterback in football. By next year, he'll be the 10th or possibly 11th. But depending on if Lamar gets franchised or not. Again, I'm about to talk about Lamar. But Herbert's going to get paid. Burrow's going to get paid. So Dak's going to be the 10th highest paid quarterback in football, and people are freaking out about it. Again, it's recency bias. We got to stop this. The quarterbacks just come down the pipeline. They're just going to get more and more money. Grady asked, how old does Russell Wilson actually play to? I don't know if he wins another Super Bowl, but I am confident he probably will get to another one. Listen, Russell Wilson takes better care of his body than most players in the NFL. And that's not to bash other players in the NFL because 99.9% of guys take care of their bodies. Okay. Not everybody's Eddie Lacy, but Russell Wilson, he trains with Michael Jordan's trainer and Kobe Bryant's trainer, Tim Grover. Okay. So, I mean, Russell is in phenomenal shape. Okay. So with that, I think he'll be able to play into his 40s. Will he be able to play at the Tom Brady level at 45? We'll see. Listen, we know medicine and sports science changes all the time. And so once we continue to get more and more information about how these guys can extend their careers, we'll see. It is a matter of, whether time will tell. But my guess is if Drew Brees could make it to 41, 42 before he started to decline, if Brady still hasn't declined at age 45, if Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs at almost 40 years old, I have no reason to believe that Russell Wilson can't do the same. Do I think 45? I don't know about 45, but I'm not ruling it out. I think he'll definitely play into his 40s, Grady, without a question. Grady says, does this kill the Lamar fully guaranteed deal? I can tell you something. Russell Wilson deserves a fully guaranteed way before Lamar. Lamar needs to take what he can get and run. I do agree. I would, if you had to give me a choice between the two quarterbacks, I'm absolutely taking Russell Wilson. You guys know I love this guy. Okay, it tells you that the reason I think Seattle is going to be so atrocious this year is because they had Russell Wilson and they still sucked. Okay, they had Russell Wilson in so many playoff games and still could not compete with teams like the Rams or remember the Carolina Panthers in 2015, that team that got to the Super Bowl when Cam Newton won MVP. I mean, all these teams that they've run into, the Packers. I mean, there's a reason for that. Okay, it's a matter of coaching, personnel. Again, like the Jamal Adams trade will go down without question as one of the worst in recent memory that the Seattle Seahawks made. I mean, you can give the Seahawks credit for helping the New York Jets get all the picks that they got. And to the credit of the Jets, looks like they've hit on a lot of those picks. So, the fact that Seattle kind of helped them do that with the Jamal Adams trade is pretty incredible. But moving on to Lamar Jackson, it's a good segue because that's also been a part of this Russell Wilson discussion is, okay, what's this mean for Lamar now? We know Lamar is asking to be only the second quarterback in NFL history to the infamous first one, Deshaun Watson, to get the highest guaranteed contract, to get a massive contract fully guaranteed. That is what Lamar Jackson is asking for, reportedly around $230 million from the Baltimore Ravens. Here's the thing that the Ravens got to understand and realize. And this is what I always reference the Dallas Cowboys from 2-3 years ago. Okay. When Dak was asking for $35 million and the Cowboys were like, oh, you can't possibly. we laugh at $35 million. Now it's like, man, I'd give anything to be able to pay my quarterback that. because the market is just going to continue to go up. That position gets more and more and more important every single season. So if you're the Baltimore Ravens, a well-run franchise, they've only been around for 30 years? I think the Ravens have been around for about 30 years, more or less. For that entire duration, they have always been one of the best run organizations in the NFL, without a question. However, ask organizations like the Denver Broncos, who have also, for the vast majority of their existence, been very well run. Ask them what it's like when you can't find that guy at that position. It's not great. Even when they had, at the end, when the Ravens had Joe Flacco, and they were good. They were winning 9 games a year, 10 games a year. Maybe they'd sneak into the playoffs. Maybe they'd barely miss it like they did in 2016 and 2017. But they didn't have that difference maker. They did not have that playmaker at that position. Frankly, they didn't. This isn't a huge shot at Joe Flacco, but they didn't have that guy that sort of galvanized the locker room the way that Lamar Jackson does. And to me, that is what you got to have to be a truly great franchise quarterback. Unless you're Aaron Rodgers, you make up for it in otherworldly talent. The Ravens, the longer they wait, the higher that price goes up for Lamar Jackson. And if they wait, let's say Lamar has a good season, the Ravens don't pay them, they franchise tag him. Burrow and Herbert get paid next year. So we're talking $55 million plus that the Ravens will have to pay Lamar. Could be closer to 60 than 50. So if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you have to pay Lamar Jackson ASAP. If you want to move on, do so at your own risk. Because it is hard. It is easy to find wide receivers in this league. It is easy to find running backs. Heck, I think it's pretty easy to find not great pass rushers, but good pass rushers. Guys that can just get to the quarterback, get pressure. Okay, it's easy to find a good safety. The Chicago Bears haven't had a franchise quarterback in the Super Bowl era. Jay Cutler's probably the best one they had, and that never really panned out. The Cleveland Browns have had maybe one. I mean, if you want to count guys like I'm blanking on his name now, but he was a quarterback for the Browns in the 90s. I'm forgetting his name, but they've never had a true, like a superstar player at that position. It's hard to find a great quarterback in this league. Ask the Dallas Cowboys. In between Troy Aikman's retirement and Tony Romo becoming the starter in 2006, man, you want to talk about a quarterback carousel in Dallas. It is friggin' hard to find a franchise quarterback in the NFL. It always has been. Even with the as much talent that is coming into the NFL at that position, it is, you got to draft one. You got to hope one becomes available via a trade request. They almost never become available in free agency. You have to have that guy if you want to go anywhere in this league. Have to. And when we talk about a guy like Lamar Jackson, who I have beat this table constantly saying every single hole in his game since he came into the NFL in 2018, every single hole in his game that people pointed out, he's filled that hole in. Okay. 2018, people said he shouldn't have even been a quarterback. There were some GMs around the NFL saying, no, he needs to be a wide receiver. He's not a great thrower of the football. Well, helped the Ravens, who were a 500 football team, win the AFC North over a very good Pittsburgh Steelers team, made the playoffs. Well, he's not. They lost that playoff game to the Los Angeles Chargers, and he really, really struggled throwing the football. Okay. Well, the next year, he led the NFL in touchdown passes. But he got smoked in the playoff game against the Tennessee Titans. Well, he can't win in the playoffs. Well, okay. The next year, he plays that exact same team that he got smoked against, the Tennessee Titans, this time on the road. And it was him who led the Ravens to victory with his arm and with his legs. Well, he doesn't play very well coming from behind. Well, that's funny because twice last year he was down double digits in the fourth quarter and came back and won both games. Down 15 to the Kansas City Chiefs, down 19 against the Indianapolis Colts. Came back, won both those football games. So, really the question now is, Can he win multiple playoff games? Okay. Can he win? We've seen him win a wild card game. Can he get his team to the AFC Championship game? I think he can. Do I think he will? I'm not certain. But can he? I think absolutely. He is, I don't think there's a shadow of a doubt, he has improved as a passer since coming into the NFL. He's not lost any of his explosiveness as a runner. We know he galvanizes that locker room with his leadership. And now we know his value after he missed the whole last month and a half of the season last year. People forget the Ravens lost almost all of their starting defensive backs before the season even started. They lost in a run-first offense. They lost almost all of their running backs. And in November, 2 months left in the season, month and a half left in the season, Lamar Jackson led the Baltimore Ravens to having the best record in the AFC. They were on pace to get a first-round bye and automatically advance to the divisional round. And Lamar Jackson went down, and the Baltimore Ravens did not win a single game after that, and they missed the playoffs entirely. So he's proved his leadership. He's proved his value. He's proved how he's improved as a thrower of the football. Steve Young kind of alluded to it, and I didn't agree totally with Steve Young saying that the Ravens haven't put anything around Lamar, because I think the Ravens draft very well. But I did agree with Steve Young, who is a similar sort of player to Lamar Jackson, or was a similar player to Lamar Jackson, saying like, hey, let this guy throw the ball around a little bit. Like he's pretty accurate when you look at how he's improved since his rookie year. He's never going to be Tom Brady. He's never going to be Drew Brees. He's never going to be Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes in terms of accuracy. Never. So if you're expecting that, you're going to be disappointed. But can he be accurate enough to throw you to a Super Bowl? I think given his improvement in his 5-year career to this point, yeah, I think so. So Baltimore Ravens, Steve Bisciotti, the owner, you got to pay him now. Because if you don't pay him now, and if you say franchise tag him next offseason, you're going to be really regretting not paying him really last year, but especially this year. Russell just got extended. Burrow and Herbert are going to get paid next year. Better do it now. I'm just saying, the Cowboys learned their lesson. Okay, they didn't want to give Dak $35 million. They ended up paying him $40 million. And had they waited any longer, it would have been about $45 million. He'd have been like Patrick Mahomes money. So pay him while you can. Let's see. Barry Grant Jr. says, let him test the market and call his bluff. That's what Dallas should have done with Dak. Well, frankly, Barry, I wish that's what Dallas had done with Dak, because then Dak could have gotten out of Dallas, but that's neither here nor there. That is an option. I'm not totally against that. See what he is truly worth on the market. But as I keep saying, that market is just going to continue to trend up for quarterbacks. Grady, thank you, Grady. He said Bernie Kosar was the guy for the Browns. Thank you. Yeah, that was the one. I was talking about the Cleveland Browns, how they've, in the Super Bowl era, they've never really truly had a franchise quarterback. Bernie Kosar was a good quarterback, but he was never on that level of his peers at the time, being guys like, Kelly or Elway or Marino, guys like that. So they've never had a superstar player at that position in the Super Bowl era. Grady says, and I actually think it's quite possible Deshaun falls off a cliff like Tiger Woods did for a while after his scandal in 2009. Wouldn't be shocked if he pulls a Dante Culpepper and falls off a cliff. Something that I think is interesting that I heard somebody bring up about Deshaun Watson, that I was like, I never really thought about that. As talented as Deshaun Watson is, and we understand how great of a season his last NFL season was in 2020, kind of the hole in his game, the biggest hole in his game that a lot of draft evaluators pointed out when he came out in 2017, he doesn't have a huge arm. He's got a good arm, but at Clemson, as great as he was there, he never was like, whoa, this dude has like a cannon. Not like his successor, Trevor Lawrence, did. Or like, a guy who got drafted the year after him, Josh Allen, a guy who got drafted the same year as him, Patrick Mahomes. And so playing in a dome in Houston and playing in a division where the Colts play in a dome, the Titans, it gets cold in Nashville, but not freezing, and playing in Jacksonville, in Florida, that arm never really got exposed that much. Coming to Cleveland, man, we know it gets cold in Cleveland. Pittsburgh gets very cold. Baltimore gets cold. Cincinnati gets cold. That, I think it's a good point, Grady. That is something that could get exposed. That and the fact he hasn't played football in 2 years, as well as the fact that I don't think by the time he comes back, the Browns will be in the playoff hunt. But we'll see how that plays out. But all to say this: Ravens quarterbacks aren't easy to find, especially guys at that position. I'm not even looking at the fact that he won MVP in 2019. There's been plenty of guys. Cam Newton, my man Ryan Flowers was talking to him yesterday. Shout out to Ryan. Okay. Cam Newton won an MVP in 2015 and declined from there. Okay. There's been plenty of guys. Rich Gannon won an MVP. We never think of him as one of the all-time great quarterbacks. I didn't care about that MVP. I care about his improvement as a player and as a pure quarterback. And given what he's shown in the first 4 years of his NFL career, I think the Ravens will be banking a very, very big mistake not paying him now. Because listen, Barry pointed out in the comments, let him hit the open market. It's fine. But somebody, let's say Philadelphia. Is Lamar Jackson not a better version of Jalen Hurts? And how in Philadelphia they've constructed that offense around him? Maybe if they're not sold on Jalen Hurts, with this loaded roster Philadelphia has, I think Philadelphia is going to be good, but not as good as a lot of people are projecting, even in a weak NFC. If Jalen Hurts does not show significant improvement as a quarterback in that year 3 that I always talk about, the Bill Parcells quote, Lamar Jackson, the open market, they may outbid Baltimore. And again, of course, Baltimore can franchise tag him and end that. But should that happen, then what are you going to do if you're the Baltimore Ravens? Because they're a well-run franchise, they'll be good. They'll be in the hunt. They're well-coached, John Harbaugh. But make no mistake about it, until they find that next guy, and that's never a guarantee, they'll be right in sort of that just above mediocre territory. Pay him now while you can. Get him at a somewhat reasonable price. Grady says, I love Harbaugh, but part of me thinks that team needs a change of voice to get to the next level. I mean, maybe. He's been the head coach for, almost 15 years now. So maybe so. I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think it's time to make a change at head coach if you're the Baltimore Ravens. But I mean, it's a possibility. I don't think there's anything wrong with this team. The Ravens' downfall last year was not coaching. It wasn't quarterback play. It was health. They weren't healthy. Their whole secondary got injured. Their entire backfield got injured, including Lamar Jackson. It was health. Health was their downfall. And even dealing with the injuries they dealt with, they had the number 1 seed in November last year. So considering all of those factors, no, I don't think it's time quite yet to move on from John Harbaugh. It would take something pretty drastic, because if you're moving on, if you're moving on from a coach or from a quarterback, you are essentially saying we think that there is a better option out there, somebody who can help us win now more than you can. I don't know. Given that every hiring cycle, how many jobs is there? 6 jobs a year, 5-6 jobs a year for new NFL head coaches. That's something that, how many of them hit? 2 a year. We're like, oh, okay, great hire. Like that guy's taking that team to the next level. It's not many. John says they need Justin Jefferson over there. Man, you want to talk about a playmaker. Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson. Lord have mercy. That would be deadly. That would be deadly. Grady, with the big announcement on the show, he says, oh, by the way, happy September, Bryson. The Cowboys are not contenders anymore. August is over. Yes, happy September to you, Grady, to everybody out there. And yes, the Cowboys days. The Cowboys are Super Bowl contenders in July and in August. Okay, that is when, especially, August, Madden comes out. So, if you want to go on Madden and go into franchise mode and see the graphic version of Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy holding the Lombardi Trophy, yeah, 10-7 record for the Cowboys. They are going absolutely nowhere this year. John like that. But yeah, the Cowboys. Let's just stop it on the Cowboys. We'll be talking plenty of Dallas Cowboys this year. Okay, make no mistake about it. There'll be plenty of times where I get to say, for better or for worse.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Get used to it. Get used to it over the next 3.5 months. It is what it is. It's 10-7 football team. They'll make the playoffs. They'll win the division and get knocked out immediately in the playoffs. I said January 15th because I think their game will get scheduled for a Sunday. It could be the 14th. Who knows? But January 15th, 2023, they will lose. And for sure, on January 16th, 2023, I'll be in this chair, behind this mic, in front of you, talking about a Dallas Cowboys playoff loss. You can mark it. You can book it. January 16th, 2023, I'll be sitting right here talking about a Cowboys playoff loss. You can put that in the books. Dre is in the comments. He says, Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Allen. Cavs got 2 offensive killers and 2 elite defenders. Cavs got a young team in the East for the next 10 years. I don't know about 10 years, but certainly the next 5 to 7. Again, like that's something else, Dre. Like, going back to the first topic on the show about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Donovan Mitchell trade, youth. Like I did mention about Donovan Mitchell, he's not in his prime yet. Darius Garland is not in his prime yet. He made the All-Star game. Jared Allen made the All-Star game. Evan Mobley is not even close to his prime. Hey, he's a baby. He's 19, he's 20, 21 years old. He's a kid. And you saw the promise that he showed with the coaching of JB Bickerstaff. I mean, this, and I hate to say it because I hate Cleveland sports, in part because I think Cleveland has one of the worst fan bases in all of professional sports. I can't stand those people. But this team is set up. No question about it. No question about it. Everything that wins in today's NBA, shooting, length, defense, coaching, they've got it all. They've got, what can I say? Are they ready to win a championship now? Absolutely not. But are they the 4th seed, 5th seed? Yeah, sure they are. Like them a heck of a lot more than I like the Brooklyn Nets. That's for sure. All right, moving on now to sticking in the NBA. I love this. So, talking about, remember a year ago, we were talking about the contenders for the NBA championship, and in regards to, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, in regards to who the contenders were. It was the Nets because they had the big 3. They had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. The Lakers, they had their own big 3, which I said was a big 2. LeBron, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook. Okay, the 76ers at the time, they had Embiid and Simmons. People assumed Simmons was going to come back. That never materialized. The Bucks are the defending NBA champions. Okay, you had the Miami Heat, who added all these pieces. And nobody ever mentioned the Golden State Warriors. My Golden State Warriors, your defending 2022 NBA champions. And I think that my Warriors are entering sort of into a new time frame of the dynasty. And that's the Tom Brady time frame. That's the Tom Brady stage. Because remember how those last 5 years in New England, how anytime that the Patriots were playing a team that was better on paper, or heck, just a better football team in general, in some cases, people are going to hate me for this, but in some cases, better coached. The quarterback had a better season. The offense was explosive. They had a shutdown defense. We always bet against the great Tom Brady. We always bet against the New England Patriots. And 9 times out of 10, it was New England who came out victorious. It was Tom Brady. After the game, we're all saying, oh, this is the greatest quarterback of all time. He did it again. We bet against him against the Legion of Boom in 2014. Everybody bet against him when he was down 28-3 against Atlanta. We bet against the Patriots when they played the Chiefs on the road in Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game. We bet against them when they played the Rams in the Super Bowl. Just kept betting against them and betting against them. And the only exception in that time span was when they were beat up and lost to the insanely great Denver Broncos defense in 2015, and when they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017 in Super Bowl 52. It's the only exceptions. Every other year, they were winning the Super Bowl. I think the Golden State Warriors are getting the Tom Brady treatment. Because ESPN analysts were polled. They were polled about who would win the Western Conference. Let me start with the NBA Finals. Who would win the NBA Finals, okay? They had, I'll start with the conference champs. In the Western Conference, of the ESPN analysts, which I think were 15 ESPN analysts, 1, 2, 3 said the Golden State Warriors would win the Western Conference. 3 more said the Phoenix Suns would win the Western Conference. 8 said the Los Angeles Clippers would win the Western Conference. Okay. The Phoenix Suns will be in the way of my Warriors. Let's not forget they did win 64 games last year. Let's not forget that Devin Booker was in the MVP race for a little spell there. Let's not forget Chris Paul is one of the greatest point guards of all time. Let's not forget Monty Williams, the coach of the year, is coaching this basketball team. And despite all that, they still managed to lose in the second round. And then the Clippers. Now, the Clippers, I've said this on my show this offseason. I'll say it again. The Clippers, to me, are the biggest threat to my Warriors in the Western Conference. Okay? Let's just finish talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They got everything that wins in today's NBA. So the Clippers. Okay? Size, defense, shooting, coaching, Tyronn Lue. Do the 8 analysts who picked the LA Clippers to win the Western Conference, do they realize that they are picking something that's never happened before? The Los Angeles Clippers have been around for about 7 decades. They have never once played in an NBA Finals. They played in 1 conference finals. That was last year. 1. But 8 believe it will be the Clippers representing the Western Conference and not the Golden State Warriors. So basically, triple the amount of people that has Golden State, who not just won the West, but won the frickin' championship. They picked the Clippers, who the last time we saw them in the playoffs, whole and healthy with Kawhi Leonard, they blew a 3-1 lead in the second round. But we're betting on them as opposed to Golden State. I love this. Do people out there understand and know that ever since Steve Kerr has been coaching the squad, they have never lost a playoff series in the Western Conference? Never. They've been to the playoffs 6 times in 8 years with Steve Kerr, and all 6 times they've been to the NBA Finals. Basically, if Steve Kerr's the head coach, you got the core of Steph, Clay, Draymond. If you're in the playoffs, you are guaranteed a trip to the finals. That's how it's been. So we're going to take a team that has never been to the finals over a team that's won half the championships in the last 8 years. Math don't add up. I'm missing something. They do understand Golden State is going to be better this year than they were a year ago, right? Steph Curry, more on him in a second. He ain't going nowhere. Okay, his skills aren't aging poorly, clearly. Klay Thompson is going to be better this year. Because, as I've said constantly in the show, rather than rehabbing, which he's done for the last 2 to 3 years, rehabbing his ACL and then rehabbing Achilles, he gets to play basketball. He gets to improve his game. Draymond Green, while his skills are clearly declining, do people forget that until he got hurt last season, he was the odds-on favorite to win his 2nd Defensive Player of the Year award? Do people forget that Jordan Poole, at age 20, was he 21, 22, was in the running to win 6th Man of the Year and was fantastic in the playoffs? Do they understand that the Warriors have the 2nd overall pick from 2020 and the 7th overall pick from 2021 and the 14th pick from 2021, who a lot of scouts I'm hearing around the Warriors are saying, look out for a breakout year from Moses Moody? They do understand that Kevon Looney in multiple games in the playoffs had 15-plus rebounds. They do understand that the Warriors, outside of the core three, Steph, Clay, Draymond, they actually have another player who made an all-star game last year. His name's Andrew Wiggins, who was the second leading scorer for the Warriors in the finals to Steph Curry. So we're just going to completely act like it didn't happen. Okay. All right. And back to, I'll tell you, back to the continued disrespect of the Golden State Warriors. The GMs, it was GMs in the NBA. They polled them. I think it was 15 general managers. Who's the best player in the world? 11 said Giannis, and you guys know I love Giannis. 3 said Steph. 3 GMs said Steph Curry is the best player in the world. Just 3. Despite the fact that he is the all-time leader in three-point makes in NBA history, that he just won the All-Star Game MVP by scoring 50 and shattered the All-Star record for threes made in a game, in an All-Star game. The Western Conference Finals MVP, outdueling a guy who many says is better, Luka Doncic, and having one of the greatest NBA Finals of all time, considering the fact that he was playing the best defense in basketball and winning the Finals MVP easily. The fact that he is a 2-time league MVP, 1-time unanimous MVP, which, might I add, has never been done before. The fact that he has led a dynasty, Giannis, great as he is, and I think he's number 2 behind Steph, has not done. Given the fact that no player in the NBA today has more of an impact on winning than Steph Curry. I don't know. You tell me. I'm just saying. And if you guys don't believe he's the best player in the world, at least I got a little bit of backup.
This could be one of the best Western conferences we've had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't like the West?
I do, but nobody's going to beat the best player in the world, Steph Curry.
Shaq thinks so. And Shaq knows a thing or two about great players. He did play with Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade, and at one point he actually played with LeBron. He played with the Big Three in Boston. Shaq knows a thing or two about what greatness looks like. I'll take his word over the words of other NBA general managers. And I will certainly bet on the Warriors, who have won 4 of the last 8 NBA championships. I'll bet on a Steve Kerr coach team, which if Steve Kerr coaches your basketball team, you are an automatic team to make the finals over a team, the Clippers, who in their 70 years as an NBA franchise have never made an NBA finals. Yet 8 ESPN analysts, by the way, that same ESPN who gave the Warriors a 14% chance to win the finals over the Boston Celtics. That's neither here nor there. Okay. More bulletin board material. I love it. My Dubs get to be the underdog once again. I love it. All right. Let's see. What do we got here? Grady Edwards. Low key, the Clippers are about to have a big 2.5 with 2.5 with Kawhi, PG, and John Wall. Guy going to be a dude who averages 15 to 16 or 15, 6 or 7. Guy has something left. No clue why the Lakers didn't trade Westbrook for him. The thing is, again, that's the addition of John Wall is one of the reasons I do like the Clippers as the biggest threat to my Warriors, without a question. Although Grady says Golden State over the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. Barry, who is a big Clippers fan. No, he hates the Clippers more than probably anybody on the planet. He said, if life was NBA 2K, the Clippers would have 10 titles. I don't want to hear no Clippers talking here. Grady says, or Golden State over the Nuggets if Jokic can flagrant foul his way back to the Western Conference Finals. Oh, gosh, I love it. I love it. John says that's not bad for Curry, respectfully. Here's the thing, though, John, that's I've never understood. And maybe it just comes down to the fact that Steph Curry is 6 feet 3 inches tall. Maybe that has something to do with it. But, and I talked about this during the finals, we got to not redefine the word dominance, but we got to look at the word dominance. Dominance in any field doesn't necessarily mean you have a big presence. When we talk about the most dominant player in NBA history, who do we usually point to? A lot of us point to Shaq, who you just heard Shaq in the last clip. But if we talk about, guys who are the best player in the game, how many guys have 4 championships in the NBA? LeBron, that's it. How many guys have 2 MVPs? LeBron's got 4. Steph's got 2. Giannis has 2. Jokic has 2, which is messed up in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. Steph has accomplished everything that every other great player in the NBA has accomplished. Yet he never gets considered for the best player in the world. That's never made sense to me. At least put him in the conversation as that. If you think Giannis is the best player in the world, I'm not going to fight you on that. Because I think Giannis is absolutely, without question, he's in the top 2. If you want to put him above Steph, put him above Steph. I'm not going to fight you on that. But the fact that they think it is that big of a gap between Giannis and Steph, I think is disrespectful to a guy who's won 4 championships and 2 MVPs. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. Grady Edwards, I love Steph, but I don't think he's the best player in the world. Give me Giannis and maybe LeBron before him. But you can certainly make the argument he's the best in the world. I can't take LeBron over Steph. Not at this point. All time, absolutely. Of course you're taking LeBron. 2-3 years ago, yeah, I'm taking LeBron James. But I do think it's, for something like best player in the world, that's got to be a Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately type of conversation. You have got to update your resume every single year. That's why I think is so incredible about LeBron's run for being the best player in the world for 15 years? Every single season, LeBron proves to you, I ain't going nowhere. I'm still that guy. Y'all know who I am, right? There was a brief spell where, sort of where Kobe was the best player and Duncan had an argument, but for the vast majority of LeBron's career, he's been that dude, right? Because every single year he proved it there's nobody's on this guy's level. Now, what's great about LeBron is he was the best player by a pretty wide margin. So, and John says, agree, Grady. Yeah. I by the way, Detroit Lions Syndicate. I see you in the comments. I see you. Shout out to Detroit Lions Syndicate. I see what's up. Listen, I think the Lions will be a improved team next year, given what they've done this offseason. I saw my man Marshall Mathers, Eminem, for those of you who don't know, was talking to the Lions today, which was pretty cool. But let me talk about real quick, because I want to get out of here to go see my Tennessee Volunteers play. They play Ball State in literally just a few minutes. Go Vols. But Jeanie Buss, the owner of the Lakers, was talking about Russell Westbrook. And what she said has probably got to be the most inaccurate comment I think I've ever heard about Russell Westbrook. She said via The Athletic, quote, "All I can say is that from my point of view, Westbrook was our best player last year. He played pretty much every single game, showed up, worked hard. I would have loved to have seen what this team would have looked like if they'd stayed healthy. It's really tough to win when Anthony Davis isn't on the court. LeBron was hurt a lot of the season, but Russ showed up every game and played hard every night. And, I just really appreciate him for who he is and what he brings to the team." Now, she would clarify those comments and clarify best to most consistent. Okay. But first of all, can we please, I'm begging you that we can stop with if the Lakers were healthy. Folks, when LeBron, AD, and Westbrook played together, they were 11-10. They were a game over 500. They were barely above average. As I always point out, my Warriors, Steph, Clay, Draymond, played a grand total of 11 minutes. Not 11 games, 11 minutes together. They won the title. Okay? Organizational structure is what it comes down to. Fit is what it comes down to. Those 3 dudes don't fit together. LeBron and AD do. LeBron, AD, and Russ? No. Doesn't work. But for Jeanie Buss to even have to be put in the position where she does have to clarify is wow. The fact that the words came out her mouth, Russell Westbrook was our best player last year. Did she forget the fact that LeBron James, at 37 years of age, averaged 30 points a game? Did she forget that? Has she, I don't know. Is it not sealed into her memory of Russ's double-digit turnover games where he got benched? How many games LeBron get benched last year? In the limited games AD played last year, how many games did he get benched? Come on now. Like we got to stop with this notion. Listen, Russell was a once great player. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's an MVP in 2017. The one thing he is not is a winning basketball player. He never has been. He's got the worst basketball IQ I've ever seen by a point guard, and it ain't even close. Terrible. Okay? He has never, when has he ever, post Kevin Durant, been a great fit with a great player? He was with Paul George. Couldn't make it out of the first round. He was with James Harden. Yeah, the Rockets were actually better without Russ that season and in those playoffs. Okay, team up with Bradley Beal. Out in 5 games in the first round. And last year with the king himself, 33 wins, not just missed the playoffs, missed the play-in tournament. We have got to stop the fact that Russ gets so many passes, and it's I don't know, man. It drives me crazy. If LeBron did what Russell Westbrook was doing in terms of his play, we'd never let LeBron James hear the end of it. If Steph was doing it, if Giannis, if Luka, we would never hear the end of it. There are just certain guys, even superstar players, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, if they make one mistake, we act like it never happened. But if guys like one of my favorite players, Damian Lillard, loses a playoff series to the Warriors, he can't possibly be considered a superstar. I don't know, man. I just don't like the double standard that we get. Let's see. I'll get to your first comment just a second, Grady, before or after I get to your next two. He said, I'll be kind of surprised if Westbrook is on the Lakers opening day. Guy's a scrub at this point in his career. He says a few trades going down right now in this association. Have I missed something? Doesn't look like it. I was going to say, obviously the Donovan Mitchell trade has been, the one that everybody's been talking about, but, yeah, I don't see anything in regards to a trade. But yeah, I mean, I listen, is there a chance that more trades go down considering the fact that, Russell Westbrook's still in the market? And yeah, okay, Grady clarifies. He said, I just meant lately. Yeah. But I do agree with you, Grady. I think the Patrick Beverley trade kind of sealed the deal. But I said, if I'm the Lakers, you better not send Westbrook home because that dark cloud is still hanging over your franchise. If you can't trade him, eat the dead money and send him on his way. Okay, eat the $47 million and just move on. If you can't find a trade partner, which usually you can find a team that'll bite. Usually. And then last comment, because I want to go see my Vols play. Grady says, I'll be kind of, no, so I'm sorry. That's the other one. Because I did want to talk about this in the show, so I'm glad Grady commented. One more thing. Any thoughts on how far Serena can go in the U.S. Open? Grady, she can go all the way. It's kind of, listen, anytime a great athlete retires, it is kind of bittersweet. Like it was bittersweet at the end of Kobe's career. And I think we're going to see a lot of this with Tom Brady this year. Cause I've said, I truly, truly from the depths of my soul, believe that this is it for him. It was sad when Breeze retired and Jeter retired. Anytime a great athlete says goodbye, like it's tough. And I heard a reporter who was at the U.S. Open last night, the match last night, where she, won in an upset victory to advance to the third round. There was a reporter that said the buzz in the building at the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, it felt like we're going to sort of, wave her goodbye. We're going to wish her well because we don't believe she's going to win tonight. And she did. A lot of tennis experts have her winning in the third round to advance. So listen, I think it's safe to say the whole world, forget tennis world, the whole sports world is pulling for Serena Williams to go out on top to win her 7th U.S. Open and 24th total total single majors. So, man, shout out to Serena Williams. Hopefully her career is still going by the time I come back on Monday, because by the way, no carving it up tomorrow. Going to take the day off before what is going to be a wild NFL season coming up. And so with that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by as always. Be sure to catch Carving It Up on Monday on Labor Day. Going to be doing a Labor Day show at 6 p.m. Eastern at 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. Also be sure to catch the Carving It Up podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Anchor, as well as wherever you listen to your podcast. And be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel grow exponentially. Help grow this YouTube channel. Continue to get it out there. So until Monday, What a great weekend we have. College football's back. It's really the last weekend of summer, so everybody enjoy it. Have a great weekend, everybody. Continue to stay safe out there. God bless you all. Peace out. Go Vols. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.